I think it's for some people good morning. So good morning, good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening for the people in Australia. Hi, my name is Vivian Acquah, and this is a different timing for a Let's Humanize the Workplace. But we wanted to we wanted to have a conversation on the Euro Team time lens. And today we are going to have a conversation about boosting female leadership. So on the guest panel today, I have the following guest speakers. Mary Jane Roy, who is an advisor, a facilitator, and a presenter, building healthy stress, resilient skills, and strategies for employee staying power. Dick Rüger is a coach and a trusted advisor for leaders, executives, partners, and teams, and in search of growth and connection. And in the meantime, I see another member who I'm going to add up, so I will continue reading the other bios as well. We have Béatrice Blondiau, and she is using sophrology techniques to help employees reach balance in life and become more courageous and to create supportive work environments. And last but not least, Tessa van Keeken, who specializes in building bridges and holding space and helping those who support others to face their own challenges and so that they can feel calm and fulfilled. And the five of us, what I did not share, the five of us wrote a book. We are co-authors of this book. The book is called Ready for Leadership, and I'll definitely share a bit.ly link later on during this episode. But I want to kick off with the first question. Why do people need to be ready for female leadership, Dick? Let's start with you.
Ooh, um, I think we are late on the game already. For the reason that if you see what's going on in corporate life in the world, we need more balance. And in my view, it has been the masculine male leadership that brought us where we are, and we need serious changes. And I think we can only do that by balancing that, and by balancing that is by using female leadership, bringing them in.
That's That's an interesting take. And also, since you're the only man on the panel, I'll definitely ask a few things related to the men. But Mary Jane, why do we need to be ready for female leadership?
Well, I mean, I agree with what Dick has just shared totally. There's really, I think, has always been a considerable shortage of what we call human skills in our male-dominated workplaces, and that's for decennia, since all time, I believe. And with the connectivity that technology has brought into the picture, it's become more evident that, and there's just, Vivian, we've talked about this before. There's just too much pain in the workplace. We're only paying lip service to topics like unconscious bias, and we're not doing enough to eradicate it. So we need more feminine qualities of leadership in the workplace. And whether this comes from also having more women in the workplace, because that's the fastest way to get it, or also to encourage men to start developing it on their own and developing these qualities. And this is partly what as I mentioned earlier that Dick has also written about in his essay in this book.
And Tessa, what's your take on it? Topic?
Yeah, my take is actually twofold. I think one of the things was actually interesting when I wrote my article uh, um, for the book. I wrote it about being more authentic and being present, your authentic presence. And then I was like, oh yeah, it should be about female leadership as well. But for me, what was the take on that is that I think we all have masculine and feminine qualities and energies, so that also it's like regardless what gender you officially are, that this ready for female leadership is really about more again finding that balance, and that we don't think that again for a long time in the workplace masculine qualities have been seen as more the ones that will lead to better careers, to more money and all that kind of things, and to actually see that balance, that to be true to yourself for both men and women and people that may identify as different genders, that the feminine qualities, the feminine leadership is something that's relevant for everything. And I think that's my right twofold, that especially also that I think in the last couple of years, a little bit longer already, but especially in the last couple of years, the question around gender has become less clear cut. Like before, it was always you're a man or a woman, and now there's actually more and more people who might actually identify as differently, but that within that feminine qualities, leadership is relevant for everyone. So I think that's another part of it as well.
I totally understand. I was just busy with creating the bit.ly link, but apparently I'm not allowed to specify the bit.ly link. So this is the link, and I'll make sure to drop it in the comments as well if you want to know more about the book. But before we are going to talk more about the book, Beatrice, what's your take on this topic?
Yeah, I think we are used to see and to live under a certain type of leadership, which is actually masculine, and yeah, we are facing also now in our world, we are facing with really huge challenge, sustainability. We have people problem with mental health. It's global. It's a big issue that keeps growing. And that is also touching also younger generation. So there are, in my view, two main issues we need to tackle. And the kind of leadership we've been used to is, it has its value. But like, Dick, Mary Jane, and Tessa said, we need to reshift, to rebalance it with a bit more feminine attributes we expect. And actually that the young generation already expect from leadership, which is much more long-term, inclusive. So I think that is why I participated to this book, and I think it's really valuable for everyone to think a bit about that and to rebalance this all.
Okay. I am in love with what everybody is sharing, but then again, I can imagine that there are so many people thinking about, okay, what is female leadership? What ingredients do we have to attribute towards female leadership? So what I'll do is I'll kick off with one ingredient that is part of female leadership, and I believe that active listening is part of female leadership. And I'll hand it over to Dick.
Vulnerability. Just the slight part, don't overdo, but vulnerability.
Yeah. Mary Jane, what are we going to add into the ingredients,
into baking your famous carrot cake? Well, I'd add empathy then into the ingredient mix. Yeah.
Love that.
And so far, I want to say that what we've shared, the three of us, and I know that Tessa and Beatrice as well, but are actually documented feminine quality leadership qualities, traits that are valued, highly valued in the workforce. And we can maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Definitely. Tessa?
I was going to say compassion, but I do feel that's so close to empathy that I think that's linked to that. So I would like to add as well, authentic in the sense of really showing what's really there.
Yeah.
Whatever may be going on.
So we have active listening, we have empathy, Dick, I'm forgetting your part. Vulnerability, authentic leadership, and Beatrice.
Yeah, I like the long term, taking the time for doing things, taking the time for things to grow. Yeah.
So sustainable growth. Then that's
is that? Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. So looking on the different topics that we shared, and again, 28 people from various backgrounds wrote this book. And it's not only women, no, there are different genders attributing to this book because we all believe in this topic. We all want to see female leadership being amplified. But this is a special one for Dick because I can assume that the people that are watching at the moment right now can maybe be thinking like, okay, are you saying that we need to amplify female leadership, but then again, do we need to deactivate the male leadership now?
No, definitely not. And what I first would like to do is make a distinction. We talk more, and it's been mentioned already, about masculine and feminine qualities, attributes. And my call to action in the end of my essay was for women to step up and bring also more feminine, but also masculine qualities, energy, because I strongly believe that every human has it in him, her, and for the men to search more and bring out and trust the feminine parts much more, because I think that's where it's all about, and we need them both definitely, and in today's world where you need also decision making, you need also guidance and real call it powerful leadership, so power. But it's in both of us, and I think it's much more about the balance between both the masculine and feminine parts.
Mm-hmm. I want to read a final part of your essay. You shared the following. I also have a last note of warning. Don't forget to apply the other male qualities as well. These are important to create and lead a sustainable human organization, as well as the female traits.
Exactly.
Thank you. And Mary Jane, because I forgot to put up the banner for Dick's part. So Dick wrote about we need to use the EI and the other qualities. And Mary Jane, your topic is about for the sake of transparency.
Yeah, and it's more. It's really my personal journey to
Mm-hmm.
where I've come now. Almost soon, not too far off in the future to be 70.
Mm-hmm.
So in these decades that I've lived, and realizing, I think the core message that what I wanted to share, and it's on the emotional intelligence, but as well networking, which is such an important part for all of us in order to advance our careers and to really develop ourselves further. It's about knowing yourself. It's about really, those steps towards self-awareness, and that's really how my essay is what it's centered upon. Yeah, it's be true to yourself. So a little bit, I think, too, what Tessa touches on, the authentic self, but just really phrased in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
And with
I'll
my
read
personal
a small
experience
part
behind it.
of your call to action. Mary Jane shared a call to action. What is my call to action to you, the reader? Be true to yourself. If you want to become a female leader of the future, which is now, stop and ask yourself this question on a regular basis. What do I need now?
Yeah.
What is your reason for sharing this? Because do you feel that people are not paying attention or filling their own cup?
Absolutely. And especially, let's face it, I think especially women don't tend to do this enough for themselves. And, COVID has just highlighted
Yeah.
how major this problem is. So it's really about taking care of number one. If you've ever been in a training or a workshop for me, I talk a lot about being number one. And it is about ensuring that you place your own needs at the top of your priority. And it's not being that you're selfish, it's just meaning if you don't take care of yourself first and foremost, how can you possibly take care of anyone else around you? And yeah, that's really the essence of my message.
I love it. I see also some people joining in. So Valentina says, hi, Mary Jane. And
Hi,
Stephen is also
Valentina.
joining in, where he shares balance is key. And Jackie, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, really enjoying this conversation. Thank you. Thank you all for joining in live as well. And Tessa, your part of the book is about embrace your true self. What can you highlight on this topic?
Yeah, well, as Mary Jane said, it is very much linked to also what she wrote about, of course, about being your true self. But one thing is about this, like when we're true self, we very often look at the ideal of ourselves, right? Who we would like to be or who we wish to be. And I think embracing your true self, you can only develop and improve yourself as well if you embrace what is here now. So I think that's what it's first about, embracing yourself as what's here now. And that also was linked to what we said earlier about, being authentic in a workplace as well, about showing up as you truly are. And that doesn't mean you have to stay that way. It's not a static way of being. So it doesn't mean you can't do self-development or personal growth or professional growth. You still can grow, but that still comes from who you are in this moment. Right? So it's really being there in that space.
I'm gonna put a little bit of challenge because I'm talking about myself, but I think that a lot of people can relate. When I started my journey, I adapted myself to become one of them because that was the norm that I was used to. So how can you know yourself when you are copy pasting the behavior and also the language that you see around you?
Well, actually, there's twofold again. Like, I think I always talk about, like, you are your true self, or you are yourself in relation to. I'm not 100% the same when I'm with my mom, or when I was with a partner, or when I'm in work. And that doesn't mean I'm not true to myself. It's like, it's also that I'm not feeling the same. I'm not experiencing the same things if I walk out into 35 degrees Celsius, so really hot weather, or whether I walk out into -10 Celsius, like in really freezing weather, right? So I experience that different, and I act different. I put on heavy coats or I put on less. So I think it's also realizing that it's not a static thing, so that it's still okay to adapt to a little bit, but that you need to start looking, why am I adapting? Am I adapting because it's appropriate in this situation? For both myself and for the other. Like, if I'm walking into a room, if I give training to people who are very much into energy healing, I'll talk differently than I walk into a room when I'm training people who are coming from a corporate world who have no experience of meditation. But in essence, I will be teaching them the same thing, but I still adapt, not being true to myself, but I adapt to my environment too. But if I do it from, I better not, and I'm afraid what might happen, and maybe I shouldn't, and I don't want to be rejected, then I may need to look inside and go, wait a minute. I'm not adapting because it's appropriate to this situation, but I'm adapting because out of fear. Now then, still, if I don't feel strong enough yet, if I don't have maybe the confidence or the capacity yet to deal with it, it's still not wrong to do it. It's just that then I may need to look, okay, what do I need to make sure that at some point in time, I don't do that anymore? So it's still not that, and that is that embracing in this moment, that I don't say, I shouldn't do it right now, I should just be able to, or whatever. That I say, okay, in this moment in time, I don't feel strong enough yet to, for instance, in a boardroom, stand up and be more feminine. But so in this moment in time, I may still adapt a little bit more, just because for my own sake as well. But what do I need? Comes back to what Mary Jane said. What do I need right now? But that comes easier if I actually first accept and embrace who I am right now. If I say, okay, right now I don't feel that confidence, and I accept that I don't feel it, then it becomes much easier to take a positive step, to actually look around, to first of all, to make sure I get what I need. I first need to accept and embrace that I need it, right? If I say, no, I'm fine, I can handle it, then I can't really give myself what I need. I first need to say, wait a minute, I actually can't handle this right now. So I need this and this. Okay, where do I get it? What help do I need? Then take those steps. Allow time, what Béatrice mentioned earlier, again, feminine quality, to actually allow that flow, to allow that growth. But also, and I think that's very important, what Dick mentioned as well about being your true self, and for me then in relation to, is that we as women also have a real role in this masculine world, where I know a lot of men who would be very happy to show and express and embrace more their feminine qualities, but that's not always accepted by the women either.
Yeah.
That sometimes, like, how many times have you not spoken to women that they kind of go, man needs to be a man, right? So I think we also have a role, again, as a whole, as human beings, also other genders who might now struggle with like how they identify, to see, wait, we need to look at ourselves, but we also need to look, are we accepting the other person also to start showing their femininity or their feminine qualities, and how am I reacting to that? And then again, not in a giving out to yourself, not saying, I should accept them. If you're not, then also realizing, hey, what's my role here? What can I do? How can I be more understanding of someone maybe are showing some more emotion, or who is showing a little bit more this vulnerability, instead of going like, come on, toughen up. your man.
I'll read a small portion of your call to action. So, each moment you are truly present here and now with full acceptance of yourself. And what is, you allow yourself to be your true self and the ancestor of your future true self, contributing to a more authentic world. Thank you, Tessa. And going to Beatrice, you have your part. Trust your own capacities and realize your potential. Can you highlight why and what your definition is with that?
Yeah, so my essay is, is coming from a very personal experience, actually my own journey. And I realized, it took me a lot of pain to realize that I could be much more kind for myself, and also much more aware of my just own capacities and my own values. And so it's repeating a bit what Mary Jane, Tessa, and Dick are saying. It's so important to have that self-awareness, self-knowledge, and also to value it, because when you get that bit, you're never finished. But when you feel much more comfortable with who you are then able to connect with others better. And in my essay, I summarized actually everything in one formula, which is that nurturing, working on yourself is your individual personal responsibility. But if you don't have to do it in isolation. It's important to connect. And that's why I love your show, and also I'm very, but because you talk about humanizing the workplace, so it means that there is a human part of us that is it is not in isolation. We are part of an environment, and if this environment is supportive, then you will grow, and that's what I'm saying. Me. Multiplied by a supportive network with a bit of time, if you trust the time, will always bring you to success. And that network, it's important to have a supportive network. And because with my personal experience, I noticed that it's in a supportive network that you dare to look at maybe the little things you don't want to see. It's there that you discover actually the value you don't see. It's just magic. It's really multiplying your potential. So that's the message I wanted to give, and I think towards women and femininity, that's also something we know very well. It's called sisterhood.
Thank you. And I think that a few people may be asking themselves or have this question in their mind, and otherwise I would still ask it anyway. You're talking about a network, you're talking about a support system. Can you maybe share some tips? I know that we all are part of let's say, a sisterhood or a network, a collective that's called Women's Network, which is I think all over Europe. So that's the first thought. Where else can people go for the network park where they feel safe and feel validated, but also feel like they can voice out their opinions, their insights?
Yeah, it can be actually anything. If there is, for example, at my work, there are activities, sporting activities, or activities organized outside work. It's in network, I think, and to me that was also a very difficult when I was a few years ago. Network was for me something very very, very serious, very
Scary?
strategic, scary,
Yeah.
But actually network is just connecting. It's just stepping towards someone else and say hello and be open to receive, and then be prepared to give. That's it. So participating in activities outside work, it's already a network. When you also go to, also yourself, if you go for sport, etc., doing activities, it's a network. And also choose network where you feel affinities. I have also a network of African women, we just call, and because we share some experience that are specific, and also it's also a network where I will hear better. I will be more inclined to receive maybe some critics I don't want to see, but that's from someone who is sharing a little bit of my experience. It's just getting more acceptable for me. So
I
that's
love that.
what I
Thank
would
you.
give as a tip.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that as well, Beatrice. I mean, I just love how you express that now. But Vivian, I'm going to turn the tables. You asked me to kind of jump in.
Can I
Do you want me
read
to-
Beatrice her
Oh,
call,
yes,
just
please
a
do.
small
Yeah.
portion of her call to action, just to
Please do.
put a little excitement about the book, right? So Beatrice shares about, in the end, it's our responsibility to embrace this uniqueness for the good of the world. It requires strength, courage, and perseverance, but also a large piece of self-love to face our authenticity. And I'll hand it over to you, Mary Jane.
Yeah. So we're 5 here, and Vivian,
Yeah.
you're also one of the co-authors. And so your essay was hugely focused and beautifully so on mentoring. Can you share what motivated you to do this, and maybe a little bit about your own mentoring experiences as mentor-mentee, but also what you feel that it brings in terms of career development?
When I started my career, I've heard of, apprenticeships and a few mentorships, but it was for a selective crew. And I think that the first time that I encountered mentorship was during PWN, I think about 2016, somewhere there, where I realized that as a mentee, I not only win by connecting myself with a mentor, but I'm also offering value towards the mentor. It's basically mentorship. It's not called like that, but it's some kind of a reverse mentorship where the mentor is learning more about the challenges that you face, but it's also widening their lens, right, with your lens, and you are widening your lens with their lens so that you can learn how you can operate, how you can navigate. And within this domain, as a Black woman, as a woman, I find it essential that every person, and every woman, but every person needs to know if there is a mentorship program within their workplace. And if not, look outside of your workplace if there is a mentorship program, because that is a valuable key for a person or an individual to sit in front of the bus, to take ownership of your career, to take ownership of your career development, and to take ownership of where you want to be within 5 years. Because when somebody joins a company or has an interview and this question is being asked, like, where do you see yourself over 5 years? I know that this question is giving up a lot of people chills, but another question that is not being asked is, how can I support you to live up to that dream? What do you need from us as an organization? What do you need from me as your manager? What do you need to at least ignite that dream, ignite that journey, and go on to see yourself there?
Yeah.
These
Beautiful.
are
Yeah.
valid questions that come up during mentorship. So that's why I'm passionate about this. I missed out on a lot, and I this topic comes close to my heart, where I am talking about mentorship, but I also know that there are some minority groups out there that need sponsorship as well. So I do highlight it on a little bit of that, where if you are in a space where you don't see certain people, ask yourself, what can you do? Invite them, talk about them, advocate for them.
Yeah, because it you also touch on, I think, in your essay about sponsorship as well, and
Yeah.
that's really in essence what it is internally in a workplace situation. Dick, I want to just go to you and briefly, because you started your friendship with PWN, if I can call it in that way, and now are a member as well, and even on the board of the network. But you started as a mentor, and what did it bring you? I'm curious.
You all know this story because I always share it. I got in contact with the Professional Women's Network by coincidence, and during a session, they informed the crowd that there was a mentoring program coming up. So I enlisted and I went to the first meeting, and it was in a small room full of women, and I came into the room too late, and I was the only man. I thought it would be 5, but I was the only man. And I was standing there, and I still, up to the day, I feel it. So this is how it feels when you are entering a room as a minority.
Yeah.
And the problem was I wanted to fly, but I couldn't because I was so visible. And Mary Jane, you invited me, said, hey, welcome. And the beautiful thing is that I was adopted in 10 minutes. That's literally how it felt. I was still struggling a little bit because we had discussions about what should women do differently? And there you were, the only black and white male. Should I now already put all my knowledge and power and biases into the discussion? But that was the first great moment. And then with mentoring, I fully agree with Vivian. It forces you to think about a lot of things yourself. When you get questions from the others, so how did I do it? Where did I go well? Where did I go wrong? Also, it was also confrontational. And especially when it's generational, I loved it to see somebody. I remember one of my mentees, as she was young, has had all kind of plans and things. I thought like, oh, there we go. Why should you start one by one? And it was a complete new generation. And I got so many insights from her. And also culturals, because he came from Latin America. So that was great. It grows you as a person, and it also forces you to think about what could be different. What could I do different? What could I? And last but not least, and that's ego. It's marvelous to see at a certain moment somebody who wants to change jobs feel the certainty and the confidence and do it. And then, like I said, well, thank you. You were one of the little nudges that helped me to take that step, and that's great.
And that's a priceless gift that up to this day, to full transparency, Dick was also used to be my mentor during the PWN program as well. And the prize that I got from being a mentor, but also being a mentee, is that I have value to offer. I have value to offer. And so many people out there in the workplace don't feel that they have something to bring within their team or within their organization. And to be able to amplify that through mentorship, that is a powerful tool. So that's why I'm so in love with mentorship and sponsorship.
Well, I mean, your essay is chock full of tips and ideas, etc. So really worthwhile. But I'm going to read your call to action. All right. Make sure you boost your career through mentoring. I wish you the best of luck with finding your ideal mentor or mentee who can help you with amplifying your career. And then you also do a second call to action, which I'm going to read because I think it would be great as a follow-up to this, is share your mentorship successes with me, with you, Vivian. So putting it out there, whoever's listening to this show, this broadcast, or recording later, let Vivian know, because this all...
Let us know, and I'll make sure to share with the other people as well. I see a lot of comments, so let me go through the comments. Lily is sharing, hi everybody, enjoying what you say. Sorry I have to quit, but I'm with you with my thoughts and convictions. Thank you, Mary J, for talking about your needs. Someone is sharing, this is a very inspiring session, thanks. And then Jackie is sharing, it can be tricky to turn up as your true self if the company culture is not diverse and inclusive. Let me invite two people to talk about it. Beatrice, what can you say about this?
Yeah, that's Yeah, that's actually and I was starting talking about this mental health issue, right? And mental health, yeah, I mean, yeah, we mean by that stress, high level of stress, sadness, anxiety, these kind of problems. And you can, yeah, the idea is, so usually is, oh, mental health, it's about them, it's about the person, right? They have to take the action, etc., to make it better. And I think our company or organizations have also their part to play here. I mean by that we see it's good, a lot of some educations with webinars about mental health and workshop here and there, but it's not enough. It's I think that companies need and organizations in general, they have also to look at the roots of the problem, which can be acid toxic culture. You know, if you organize a webinar or a workshop, but that you don't allow your people to make mistakes, to express at least what they mean, it won't make it won't bring any solution. So yeah, I like that one. The culture of organization must be supportive. Must allow employees to feel comfortable to be at work and with all their dimensions and feel comfortable to do the work they usually like to do. You know, we don't, when we go for work, we want to deliver good work. So yeah, culture, it's an important one, I think. Yeah.
I do also want to leave those who are watching and facing something similar where you are sensing a way that you cannot be yourself. Put down your values and match them with your team values, match them with the organization value, and really think really hard about is this the right team? Is this the right company? If not, then you have to question yourself, what am I doing here? Because we live in a day and age where there are so many opportunities, so many companies. And please, I'm not advocating for you to leave your job right away. I just want you to ask yourself these questions, and not only ask them with yourself, but have a accountability partner that you can ask these questions with, so that you really go through and be honest with yourself. Are you in the right position? Are you working for the right company? Is the right company matching your values? We also have our mission statement. We also have our values. And that is something that we need to learn, that we bring a lot of value onto the table. And if there is a misalignment or a mismatch, you have opportunities, you have choices to make. Tessa, I see you nodding your head, so you definitely have something to add on to this topic.
Yeah, you more or less said everything that was popping into my head already. But yeah, I think again, it comes back to that, right? Like, I really feel that it's like this sometimes we go into this idea of true self as if you can only figure that out for yourself, by yourself, on your own, again, and if it's static. And I think what happens sometimes is that people kind of go into a mood of this is who I am, take it or leave it, right? As a way of, I need to show myself. And then you forget that, again, it's not static, and it's also that, again, it's in relation to. So, and then it comes to that best point, like what you were saying around, so first of all, being honest, like, where is that friction? Is it that really the culture or the company culture or whatever, is that preventing me from showing myself? Or is it that I am afraid of doing it, of what's happening? So first of all, again, checking, like, what is happening? Is there things I can do? And that can also be, if the culture is like not diverse or inclusive, like, are there people that you can talk to? Like, for instance, some companies do have all these diversity initiatives and stuff. So can you actually take actions that might improve that? And then also checking in with yourself, do you want to? because you may not want to, right? Again, and this comes back to it's partly your choice. And then, as you say, if you really feel that it's not aligned, if it really is not a place that's working for you, to also be kind to yourself if you're not ready to straight away take that step to leave, or if you're not ready to change. That first of all, there is often a period, and that's in work, but that can be also in relationships, that can be in your own self-development, it can be all kinds of situations that once that self-awareness starts, that you kind of feel, oh, wait, this is just my values and the values around me are not working, or something else, that then sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, now I should change it. Otherwise, it's my fault that I'm in this situation. But to be kind that, there may be financial obligations, there may be just a fear of leaving, there may be lack of self-esteem, there could be anything. So to then, once you get that feeling like, hey, it's not aligned, to again comes back to allowing your time, to allow yourself to actually say, okay, what do I need to take a step? And to not say that you have to straight away. So if it takes you a year or even 5 years to leave, it's not your fault that you're in that situation. As long as you are honest with yourself and you're looking what steps feel right for me and what support do I need. And one really important thing that I want to say is that it's like asking for help can be incredibly difficult, but also for a lot of people, what's even more difficult is actually accepting help. But when you realize, you mentioned mentorship, if you get into that world, if you get into networks, if you get into communities, whether it's like, Béatrice mentioned a few, but if you get into communities, you'll be surprised that once you actually express your needs, which can be difficult, and maybe even ask for help, but then when people start offering to also, that you notice yourself maybe saying, no, it's fine, or no, you don't have to, and to actually stop for a moment and go, actually realize you'll be surprised how often people want to help you with this. Sometimes even within the company, if you're brave enough and if you feel that you can somewhere, maybe to a manager or maybe to a colleague or somewhere, start to mention these things, but otherwise maybe outside, and this can be friends or families or
I do want to mention something. There are also a lot of comments in the comment section, but I do want to mention, if you feel stuck, you don't have to wait 1 or 5 years. Hire a coach, invest in a coach. That can accelerate the crossroad journey that you are on. And also a coach will be your cheerleader, will be your guide, will support you wherever you are, so that you don't have to feel like you are alone on this. And I'm going to go on to the next topic. So everyone in the organization needs to understand what code switching is and realize that some people need to put a lot of energy into fitting in. Without that awareness across the whole organization, we can struggle to be our true self. And Dick, are you aware of the term code switching?
No.
Okay, I will help explain. So I code switched during my career. And in the beginning, I mentioned something about me fitting in, me becoming them. That's code switching. That's me, instead of being purple or pink, as you can see, I am becoming part of the paperclip company. I am becoming one of them. And that means that I am not able to be myself. I'm not able to show up as myself. So if I am in a state of grief, or if I'm going to challenges at home, I make sure that I don't bring them at work, because work is work and home is home. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's also another way of using the word culture fit.
No, I definitely get what you're saying. And I was just thinking about, I won't say took me 54 years to get rid of it, but
Yeah, I totally get it. Mary Jane, what do you have to say about this comment?
Yeah, what comes into my mind, and it has popped up a few times, and especially Tessa, with what you were sharing about, adapting to the culture. Vivian, what you had shared about your own experience, but it is hugely energy draining to be on all the time, and I think a lot of this is probably leading to the mental health and emotional health problems that we're seeing rampant in the workplace. So yes, there has to be an awareness. But my other concern is that we're only paying lip service still.
Yeah.
As important as we know it, but we're only still paying lip service to really implementing a strong, diverse and inclusive, equitable culture in our organizations, in our families and friends, etc. And Vivian, I have to share this for the group, because if no one has experienced it, but the work that you're doing with virtual reality and these films that have such a visceral response in the viewer, the participant, in this case it was me, being on the receiving end in that video of someone's sexism, someone's whatever, and it's this is where we have to go. We have to make it real. People have to feel why this is so important, because otherwise it's blah blah blah, and nothing changes.
Yeah, Mary Jane is talking about an empathy part where there are different tools to activate empathy and to unlock empathy. And I'm currently using virtual reality for people to understand what it means to be the other. So, what it means to go through the workplace and deal with a Me Too, what it means to go through the workplace and maybe being a transgender, what it means to be in the workplace and dealing with autism. There are so many flavors and so many labels available, but we don't know what we don't know. And we can guess how the other is feeling. But what if you had inside information that can really help you understand what it means to be othered, what it feels to be othered, what it feels to be excluded? Because that's something real, and it's helping with the conversations to really make a deep dive when it comes to DEI. So thank you. Jackie is on a roll. She she shared something else. So I think regardless of personal confidence, we need an inclusive environment for all our colleagues to appreciate and understand that different perspectives enhances the workplace. And I fully agree. There is a comment regarding Beatrice. Fully agree with what you're saying, Beatrice. Inclusive environments do reinforce and encourage women leadership initiatives. And I see Joanna, who's also a previous mentor from PWN. A mentorship program is great, but some of the best mentorship relations come from the individual approaching a prospective mentor speculatively. The mentor is always flattered and you get the right chemistry, win-win outcome. Yeah, that's also one of the things that I highlight during my essay, and how you can approach somebody if there isn't a mentorship program available. You can always approach somebody with the right tips from the book of Ready for Female Leadership. I had to plug it in there. I had to do that. So Joanna is also sharing great talk about authenticity. This is scary for a lot of people, for a number of people. What steps do you recommend people to take to start to explore their personal brand? Let's go around. Beatrice, how would you answer this question with exploring your personal brand? Do you need a moment?
Exploring your personal. I think that's I think the network that can help a lot. You know, find a place where you can when you can play around. You know, a kind of playground where you can you feel safe enough to do it, because it requires courage. That is true. It requires courage, you know, to step out and and dare to show part you don't always want to show. So, but that is still making you. So I think that network is, a supportive network is the best place to play around. Yeah, and do it also. You know, it doesn't need to be big. That's also another tip I'd like to say. Sometimes it's just start a little bit and see what's happening. And usually, if we tend to make it much bigger in our head than it is in when it comes. So step by step, I like that too. Step by step.
Take one step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tessa, how would you answer the question of Joanne regarding exploring your personal brand?
Yeah, I think with personal brand, we think often at, like, of course, as a person, maybe if you're self-employed, that you obviously often are your own brand, but even maybe in the workplace. So I do think with personal brand, I often think it's kind of like going really to your essence, to your actual core, because I think in a personal brand situation, this can be, whether it's through a website or just through how you are presenting at a network meeting.
Your
It
LinkedIn
can be,
profile?
yeah, it's like a snapshot. So you can't necessarily show your whole personality with everything that's part of you, because if you do that, it might be too confusing for people if they see everything at once. It's like that. So I think in a way to really find, so what's really, it can be through exploring your values as well, but also deeper than that, even what's always there that you really feel this is really, really me. This is it. And then, so it's like if you would take a picture of you, as you say, LinkedIn profile, whatever it may be. So there, I think, and that can be a combination of what you're wearing, where you feel really good in. It's a combination of maybe even one sentence. It can be like your LinkedIn, the little description even there, but it captures your essence. And I think for me, what really happens with that is, again, going back to not just looking at how you would like to be seen. Because I think with a personal brand, if you focus too much of how you would be like to be seen, you may end up with showing something that's not really you. Right?
Okay,
Because
thank
then,
you.
so I think it is important to go to the essence and then make it as you want to be seen as well, but from within.
Thank you. And Dick?
Yeah, I must say it would for me indeed be a combination of essence or purpose. That also is your inner compass to say hey, if something doesn't go right, is it because of me or is it because of the environment, the purpose? I fully agree with Beatrice. Baby steps. It doesn't need to be shouting it from the rooftop, and do it in a psychological safe environment. If you don't feel safe, do it in your head. Don't even express it, but start with doing it in your head, getting used to it, step by step. And I can tell you, your closest environment will correct you at a certain moment if you might overshoot yourself a little bit. And then you will see, and especially if you have kids, that it's even worse. Real true friends will suddenly look at you with what's happening there? Is it okay? And then you can always go a little bit back.
Yeah. Always ask for constructive feedback though, because I know people in the Netherlands are known for butchering people when they are giving feedback. So always ask for constructive feedback. And I'm also curious about your personal brand, Dick, because how long did it take for you to explore that journey?
Well, the journey itself wasn't long. The moment that it started has been a long time after I started work.
Mm-hmm.
It actually happened at the end of my corporate career before I started work for myself, where I got into a 3-day purpose workshop
Mm-hmm.
to where I created my own purpose. And from there on, it's more and more about and yeah, check hey, if I have a bad day, could it be because I didn't live my purpose? I wasn't in an environment where I fit in, or where I feel myself comfortable or okay in. And it can be a very challenging environment. If I want to be challenged, it's I love it. And there are a lot of, as Tess also said, it's about values, etc. So if you're in an
Yeah.
environment that are not with my values, not in line with my values, I feel it. So, but it took me a couple of years, and I'm still learning it. And once every while, I get feedback, as the constructive yes and feedback. And I learned that I don't take it too personal. I take it as a lesson, as a learn, and that was my whole coaching journey up till today. Helped me a lot with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can totally understand. And Mary Jane.
Yeah, I guess it's the red thread for me, I think in what all of you have shared so far, but Vivian, you earlier as well, and that is you know yourself, but I think you can start with know your values. Because I challenge anybody who's listening out here now and to the recording later, do you really know what's important to you? And when you fine tune what those values are, then I believe, and only then, and I know that this is also context, connected with context, etc. But then and only then can you start to really evaluate your environment around you, and is it supporting you or not? So if you're getting irritated, angry, frustrated, those kinds of emotions, if you're experiencing those emotions, then just know that one or more of your values, something that's important to you, is not being met. And that can be a trigger for you to say, okay, but really, my advice would be sit down, find a list of values, they're online to find, and start defining for yourself what are your top 5 values in life if everything is going well for you. And journal. And journal. It's another step to self-knowledge, to self-awareness.
I'm going to ask you the same question, Mary Jane. When it comes to your personal brand, because I have seen you grow, I know this just a little inside information. A lot of people don't know that. I think a few years ago, I think it was 2017 or 2018, I interviewed Mary Jane and I told her I fell in love with her voice. You need to do a podcast. Eventually, we ended up doing a podcast together, which was a great project. But you have grown. You have grown as a human being. You have grown as a professional facilitator. And when you look at your brand, how you started and where you are right now, you have a book, you're a co-author, you're so many more things. What would you tell yourself a few years ago when it comes to your brand?
It has a lot to do, I think, with what Tessa has shared, and that is embracing who I am in that moment. And I always said, I was my best critic. I didn't have to hear it from you or anyone else. I was, that inner critic was loud and clear to me. So it was about learning to embrace me and the self-compassion, etc., that I needed in order to fully grow and develop. And it's interesting though, because in the last year, I've really come back to my roots, if I say my roots, from 11 years ago when I started my company. And the heart was playing a really big role in it. But you'll notice now, for example, on LinkedIn, the hashtag I use for myself is living from my heart. And so over time, my purpose has evolved and has led me to this place to do things that make my heart sing.
Yeah. Do things that make your heart sing. This is a quote. This is a catchphrase, a mantra that definitely should be claimed by you, Mary Jane Roy. Do things that makes your heart sing. I'm also seeing a comment from Diane who's sharing. She's really enjoying the conversation. Looking forward to reading the book. Let us know what you found about the book or the different essays, because there are 28 essays in the book that are uplifting, empowering, but also showing a new way of leading, which is needed in this world, not only in the corporate space, which is needed in certain places in the world. I'm not going to highlight, but we do need some more female leadership. And I really enjoy this conversation. What's the final thing that you want to leave with today? One thing, one topic. Let's make it short and brief so that everybody else have the space. So Beatrice, I am going to start with you.
Yeah, I will bring me something we didn't touch, and that's dare to feel. Don't forget that you are not just a head there, but dare to feel, because if it's painful, if it's painful, there's something there to change. So dare to feel.
Thank you. Tessa.
Yeah, I think it does come back to compassion and realizing that compassion, we say sometimes self-compassion, compassion, but it can only be when it includes both yourself and the others. and that being understanding can start even before you understand someone. It's great if you understand someone, that's all good, but you can still already start with being understanding, and which
Thank
creates
you.
inclusion.
Thank you. Mary Jane?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, I guess it would be to really, my call to action here from here would be to really invest in the mental, emotional health of your employees. If you're representing an organization, if you work in an organization, make this plea.
Thank you.
Coaching,
Dick.
training, whatever it needs.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you started this broadcast with the question, what is female leadership? And we heard authenticity, transparency, balance, support, take ownership. And then I was actually triggered by the quotes of Jackie, the remarks of Jackie. And I think that what it will bring, if you take all those elements together, it will create diversity and inclusion. And that is, I think, the core, whether you call it feminine or female leadership, we needed to have more diversity and inclusion, because ultimately hardcore research has shown that performance in society, in organizations, in teams, steps up, grows when you are more diverse and definitely inclusive.
Thank you. And the last thing that I would like to add is have empathy for each other. If there are ways for you to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, try it out. If there aren't, try to think about what is one thing that you can do to learn about the other that is that is different from you, different in education, different in background, different in so many ways, so that you can activate female leadership. It was my pleasure and such an excitement to host this conversation, and also know that Ready for Leadership, the book is out there. You can find it on Amazon. You can also Google it online so that you can find where you can buy the book. But this book is a must-have in your leadership toolkit. If you don't have this book, then you're missing out. That's it. Thank you all. And until next time. Bye,
Thanks so much,
everybody.
Vivian.
Thank you.